This is the Scorch paste that we are going to be using in this video. I will have a link below. I just purchased it on Amazon. And this is the wood blank that we are going to be using in this video. It is Knotty B grade. I'm assuming it's a pine. I picked it up at a local lumber yard. We are also going to be using stencil vinyl that we will be putting on this wood to use the Scorch paste. And then you can stop at that point after you use the Scorch paste, or if you enjoy sublimation, you can add sublimation images in. We are going to be doing that at the end. And this is the heat gun that I am going to be using on this Scorch paste. And so I'll have a link below for that as well. So for creating this torch paste stencil, I started in Canva and I made a design which was very simple. I just went into Creative Fabrica and I found some fonts that I really liked. I like this Gnome Lover, so I downloaded that and then uploaded it into Canva. I have other videos that show how to do that. I do suggest getting the Creative Fabrica All Access. I'll have a link below for that. They have a wonderful sale going on for that right now. And another font that I downloaded, this is actually called a font duo. It has two fonts with it. It has Love Mama. And so I downloaded those and uploaded those into my Canva account. So here, this one is the Gnome Lover, and this one is the love part of that Love Mama. And so I really like that font. I wanted a font that we're going to be doing a reverse weed on this. And I wanted a font that was going to be wide enough to take the Scorch paste. So when I started designing, the first thing I did was I added a circle in the background. Now this circle is just for you to see what it's going to look like on the board. That's it, because we are going to be removing the circle. Here you can see that I've removed the circle because when I download, I don't want that circle in the design, but it gives you an idea of the area that you have to work with. So I just did a 14 by 14. My board isn't that big, but when I bring it into my cutting machine, which I'm using a Cricut Maker 3, I'm going to shrink it down because actually the board is not a full 12 inches. It's only about 11 and a half before the rounded edge. And so we will do that when we bring it into Cricut. So here is the actual design. So all I did was I added this circle for the background so you could see. Then I added these circles and I removed the color from inside of the circle. And then I made the border a little bit thicker. And then I added text boxes. And as you can see, this is that JT Love, or it's just Love Mama. It's the love part. Let's see if I can show you what that looks like here. It's going under JT Love and then JT Mama. Those are the two that came with that download. So now what I wanted to do was see what it would look like. So this is the Scorch paste template that we're going to be using. But I wanted to see what my wood would look like if I added some sublimation to it. So I wasn't sure how this is going to turn out because, you know, this is something new. I've never used Scorch paste. I have done sublimation on raw wood before, but I thought it would be kind of cute to add in some sublimation. Now for this project, you can just leave it as, you know, the Scorch paste. You don't have to add anything. You can add stickers or you could add some greenery or whatever you want to your board, but I chose to add some sublimation images. Now you can use anything. You can get them on Creative Fabrica. You can get them out of the elements on Canva. I just wanted to see what it would look like. And these are the ones that I am going to use. So now for this, the only thing that I need to download here is this workbook in Canva here. And I'm not going to download it as a SVG for the cutting machine. I'm actually going to download it as a PNG. And this is the PNG image that I am going to be uploading into my Cricut design space. So once I had that uploaded into Cricut design space as an SVG, now a cut file, I needed to make it quite a bit smaller, and I wanted to make sure that this is going to fit on my cutting mat and on the blank piece of wood that we're going to be using. So I have shrunk it down to the size that I need it at. I'm trimming down my stencil vinyl to the size that I want to run through my Cricut Maker 3. And I'm going to be using a piece of transfer tape on this stencil vinyl, so I'm trimming that down as well. And just to keep this stencil vinyl in place, I lightly taped it onto my cutting mat. And now I am preparing to get this cut. So it is showing that it's going to fit nicely on that mat and cut it properly. So when you choose your cutting material, I went into all materials and I typed in stencil, and then I chose stencil vinyl. And for this, we are not going to be mirroring our image, and I changed the base material, that stencil vinyl. I upped the pressure to more pressure. So if you have that option, I suggest that, but that is totally up to you. I am no cutting machine specialist. So it has cut the design here, so we are ready to start weeding. Like I said earlier, this is a reverse weed. So when you're weeding, you're going to take out the parts that you're going to be putting the Scorch paste into. And be careful to leave the inside of the E and the A and the O, etc., so that you don't accidentally weed those out. I like to weed the vinyl while it is still on the cutting mat. And now I have added the transfer tape on top of our stencil, and I'm going to be peeling this up so that we have our design on the transfer tape. Be sure that while you're lifting it with the transfer tape that you get all of those little interior parts of like the A, the E, the O, etc. And here I have almost got it removed. Now I carefully centered my design where I want it to be, and I am adhering that down to the board before I remove the transfer tape. It adhered very well. Now, after I removed the transfer tape, I went over all of the edges of the cut design, all of the letters, and I pressed them down with my fingers to make sure that they're nice and tight so that we don't get that Scorch paste underneath the vinyl. I followed the instructions on the label of this torch paste. It said apply a thin layer of paste to the stencil with a squeegee on a sanded wood surface. I did not use a squeegee, I used a paintbrush. I thought I had more control with that. And then it says remove excess paste and let dry for 2 to 3 minutes. and then remove the stencil vinyl before using the heat gun. And it says, keep heat moving. More heat equals a darker burn. And then it says finish with a stain or a sealer. So I chose to use something other than stain or sealer as well. This is what the torch paste looks like, and you can see that it has a thick pasty quality with an orange tint. So I used a small paintbrush and just made sure that I had plenty of torch paste on every area that was exposed. I turned the board as I was going around the design with the Scorch paste, making sure that I covered the entire area that was exposed to the wood. So now while I am waiting for that torch paste to dry, or to give it enough time before I take the stencil off, I'm preparing my area. I have got a heat resistant silicone mat down because this heat gun gets very hot and it will burn surfaces. So I have my heat resistant pad down. This is a silicone mat and it fits perfectly on my heat press. And so I will have a link below for that as well. So I removed a large portion of the stencil, and you can see the torch paste on here. You can see the color of it there. And now I'm going to be very careful and remove the rest of these pieces, and I am going to be using a weeding tool for that. And here it is after all of the stencil has been removed, and you can see pretty easily the area that we are going to be hitting with the heat gun.
All right, so here we go. I'm just going to take a little video of this because it's going to be noisy. You can see it changing color, and the hotter it gets, the more the color will change. I'll let this focus here. All right, so I'll finish this and then I'll be back.
So I did want it rather dark, so I did hold it quite close to get it dark. And as you can see the wood grain in there, it gave it different colors in different areas, but I do like that effect. So now if you wanted to just do your Scorch paste on this, you could add some kind of a varnish or stain to this, or both stain and varnish, and you could be done with it and add anything else that you want. But I am going to go on to the next step here, and I am going to add some sublimation images. And these are the sublimation images that I printed. Now you do need to use a sublimation printer and sublimation ink for this, and I am using HTV Ront 125 sublimation paper as well. So I printed out my images, and now I'm going to be pressing each one on separately. Because these are in small spots around this board, I'm going to be using the HTV Ront Mini Heat Press 3-in-1. So I've got this preheating to 385 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to be pressing each image for 60 seconds with firm pressure. So I added my image with heat resistant tape, and then be sure to use protective paper on top. The paper, it'll pick up some of that Scorch paste, and it might stick in some areas to that Scorch paste. So what I did after I pressed this, you can see the little Santa hat there. That was 385 degrees for 60 seconds with firm pressure, but some paper did stick in that area, so I used a little wet cotton swab to remove any paper residue. And here it is after I added all of those little sublimation images on there. It just kind of gives it a little bit more color and a pop to it. So I didn't want to stain and varnish this. I just wanted to give it a little bit of a sheen. So I actually bought some food grade mineral oil, and that is what I rubbed this down with. So I went over each part of the scorching first, and I stayed away from the sublimation image. I just got real close to it because I want that sublimation image to dry. I didn't want to touch it with the oil right away. I want to wait at least 24 hours for that, but it will get close enough that it'll start to absorb into that wood. And here it is after I rubbed that mineral oil on. And I decided to give it a little more character, so I drilled 4 holes, and then I added some garden twine to this. And now we have our treats for Santa and his reindeer. And you can see that that oil has started to absorb real well into that wood. And you can see that it has got even close to those sublimation images, which is the look that I wanted. I wanted it just to have a sheen, kind of a dull sheen, and it does. And here I zoomed in on those sublimation images so that you can see just how crisp and clear that they did turn out. And just an overview on this project. I probably would not use knotty pine next time because where the knots are, you can see that the Scorch did not adhere real well. I do like the effect of the marbling effect from the grain in the wood. I would make my sublimation images bigger. I would love to have had them, at least double the size that they're at right now. But all in all, I think this project turned out really well. Please like my video and subscribe to my channel and see links below.